Part 4 of the longest chapter ever, chapter 15. The upper register. From right to left, the first six seated deities have a knife-like form that is stationed just below the breastbone at the base of the sternum, that is, solar plexus. One force determining DNA structure is the electrostatic force. In DNA complex melting, the repulsion force between phosphate groups favors strand separation. Each of the six deities sits on a throne or foundation of forms that suggest a DNA base. The six gods are also in phage or mummy shape, and two of these having a human bearded head pointing to phage head and tail structure. The ibis-headed god on the throne is representative of Thoth, the RNA polymerase. As early as the first dynasty, which is 3050 BCE to 2850 BCE, Thoth appears in the iconography as a dog-headed baboon and later as an ibis-headed human carrying a pen and palette, suggesting transcription. In the Osiris myth, Thoth helps Horus and Anubis reconstruct the dismembered body of Osiris after Ibis breathes life back into him. Also in the upper register is a hawk-headed god called Horus of the Duat, pointing to the transformation to the cosmic species. The striking god and holding a knife in his left hand is called Powerful Arm, he who smites his enemies, which is certainly the translation by Penikoff, suggesting chemical activities related to lysis. The god called His Two Faces by Penikoff represents Seth in his two functional forms as the hawk-headed god looking to the right. He assists the full operation of the Eye of Horus, or the lytic cycle of phage lambda. The animal-headed looking to the left suggests the old form or the human creation due to lysogeny and the activation of the SHH gene, or the Seth pig animal, for human brain development and limb formation. In the upper register, the crook of Osiris appears along with the serpent-headed staff of Osiris, suggesting an active replication fork. The Osiris term facing the lioness deity indicates early phage transcription, or the anti-termination of the terminators to allow gene transcription. Lambda regulates timing of gene expression with anti-terminators. The lytic cascade is The lytic cascade is irrevocable once Q anti-terminates PR, or the promoter, for rightward transcription. When Q anti-terminates mRNA, extends around the circular phage chromosome through the head and tail genes. The lioness called Terrifier of Spirit suggests UV irradiation and impending potential for cell lysis. Next are six goddesses and a goddess wearing the red crown of the north and the lower Egypt. In RVI, Penikoff depicts two more goddesses, one wearing the white crown of the south and the upper Egypt, and a goddess wearing a single plume named First Truth, goddess of the valley, a reference to Ma'at, or rightful order. The upper register deities praise Ra as he passes, uttering words on his journey to the divisions of the great double city, or mansion of the six, where the Lambda prophet lodges on the host chromosome. Then they lament, preparing to make souls approaching their forms, causing the offerings of the night to come into being, and overthrowing Ra's enemies for the sun god on the lytic pathway. Lower register. Among the deities in the lower register, we find 3 gods with corn on their heads, 2 through 4, and 3 gods, which are 5 through 7, with the wheat or barley in left hand, suggesting the lactose nutrient medium for the lambda left arm, and 3 seated gods in phage or mummy shape. 2 inverted life signs are at the solar plexus of the 2 mummy-shaped gods. 2 standing human forms also hold the inverted life sign, which may represent either the repression of the human lineage or the 2 sets of inverted repeats in site-specific recombination of phage lambda. Recombination at inverted repeats causes an inversion. Mummy-shaped or phage dress Osiris wearing the white crown suggests excision of the prophet, or the rising Osiris. The god Kwa holds 2 lotus top scepters, suggesting regeneration of both arms of lambda. As mentioned in part 2, the lotus is a symbol of the nascent life, or a Kalibi space, a 6-dimensional geometrical shape in the quantum core of matter. To follow is a 2-headed god, a representation of Seth looking at the left and Horus to the right, suggesting the composite function of both arms of the lambda genome. The lower register deities take instruction from Ra, kindles fires to burn up Ra's enemies, and lament when Ra passes. Additional texts explain the conversation between the duat gods and Ra. The duat gods rejoice praising Ra and making plans to destroy Apapus immediately on Ra's behalf, because Ra's jawbones are his own lambda arms or jaws. The duat gods believe he will illumine the darkness in the hidden Ament, where he will rest before becoming Khepera in the east. In response, Ra asks the gods and his following to help him so that he can travel to his eye, avenge them, and order their destinies. His destination at his eye is the prophet's site, where Osiris rests between the Lak-Z, or the Begal, and the bio-operons of the host chromosome. The introductory text states that Ra will enter the earth and open the locks. And this is a text from Ramses VI. The locks of the hair of the gods who wear locks. A direct reference to the double spirals of DNA. He will pass over the eaters of the ass, or the arm, eat bread, and be given the full rope of the barge. Pentecost lists Isis, the protectress, as the last goddess in the upper register of RVI, along with listing Isis and Nemesis as the 2 serpents in the bark. Regarding the middle register, Pentecost records the crew of the bark as the opener of the ways, mind, lady of the barge, flesh, horse, and praiser, the bull of truth, the watchful one, and magic. The text in the lower register states that Ra commands the gates to open and tell his followers that they will not decompose. In this register, we also find Osiris Un-Efa as a name given to the resurrected Osiris, translated as the one who has arrived to the state of accomplishment. Pentecost notes that Ra is expeller of those whose arms are hidden, suggesting the excision of the Osiris prophets, or arms of lambda genome. The text at the end of the hour 2 states that Ra goes in the following of his bright eye, that is, the right lambda arm, and he proceeds upon his left eye, a reference to the left lambda arm. And here's a matrix for the amduat, hour 2. Hour 3 of the 12 hours of the amduat. Hour 3 depicts the encapsulated ram-headed sun god minus his disc with an unwavering forked scepter or stalled replication fork and a crew of 6. Isis is present along with a hawk-headed deity looping ropes around 2 hawk-headed rowlocks. The text states that the great god rests for a period in the city of the Recall that absorption of lambda is host E. coli allows penetration of the phage genome into the bacterial cell. For protection, the linear DNA circularizes in the bacteria cell by means of single-stranded 5 feet extensions of 12 base at both complementary ends. After ligation, the phage genome becomes a negatively coiled structure, which means that DNA twists about its axis in the opposite direction from clockwise turns of the right-handed double helix. In the first stage, the circular lambda DNA replicates bidirectionally in the host E. coli in a theta or circle-to-circle mode, switching later to the sigma or rolling circle mode. It yields daughter DNA molecules, so topologically closed DNA can be loop constrained at the base. The smaller hawk-headed horse deity on the box forms looping ropes around 2 rowlocks at the stern, which may indicate that this theta mechanism of lambda replication called circle to circle during the second stage, phage lambda switches modes from circle to rolling circle replication. In first stage theta replication, the phage lambda genome becomes a negatively supercoiled structure or a left-handed form of the DNA molecule called zDNA. Coiled in the shape of a left-handed screw, zDNA displays a zigzag backbone. Negative supercoils arise behind a transcribing RNA polymerase, which plows straight through the DNA double helix instead of rotating around the DNA. A specific protein, dsRNA, or adenosine deaminase, or DRADA, binds tightly to zDNA and changes adenine, one of the 4 components of nucleic acids, so that it acts like guanine. In hour 4, the sun god will travel a zigzag series of corridors in the presence of a wing-headed serpent. This can be easily decoded to zDNA and wing HTH protein DRADA with its 3 alpha helices. The boat which capsizeth. The bark now enters the region Net Neb A Kapaat, or the stream of Osiris. 3 boats proceed before the sunbark. The first boat after the sunbark is called the boat which capsizeth. The second boat is named Boat of Rest, and the third boat is the Branch. There is no yukak on the boat which capsizeth, which is steered by 2 men and contains the hawk god Back and the hawk goddess Baket, along with the 1 human-headed form standing on a snake holding a forked scepter or inactive replication fork. The hawk-headed human form on a snake indicates the victory of Horus over Apophis, but put simply, the DNA of the human lineage will capsize or be boatless due to the autocatalysis of the Lex A repressor protein and the consequent de-repression of 42 genes. In Coffin Text 1099, the sea sun god achieves his goal of bonding with the Osiris and states, "I was not boatless in the great crossing." Thus, His victory over Apophis allows the sun god to proceed by not capsizing his DNA template. The left lambda arm is no longer replicating the human lineage DNA, which capsizes due to the inactivation of the master Lex A repressor protein. The boat of rest. The second boat in the procession is the boat of rest, which has the eucox and the cenophallus heads at each end, and two steersmen with a mummy-shaped Osiris standing between two human forms. This suggests that the Sambot will rest at the prophet's attachment site on the bacterial chromosome, that is, the hidden chamber of Osiris. The E. coli chromosome site where lambda integrates is 30 BP in size and contains a central 15 BP region where the site-specific recombination reaction takes place. Excision of the lambda prophets conserves the 15 BP elements, which are aligned to excise the integrated segment again. Site-specific recombination of lambda results in excision of the prophets and the regeneration of the original sites on the phage and bacteria chromosome. The boat of the branch. The third boat with a eucox is called the boat of the branch, and bears the mummified Osiris and the two legs exposed and the wavy horizontal ram's horns on his bearded head. We might take this to mean that Osiris, who stands between a mummified human and another god, is coming out of his dormant prophet stage, for his legs are exposed. Lion heads decorate the prow and stern, and the name of the boat suggests that the boat will branch. This further suggests prophet's excision, which results after a short 7 BP branch migration. In fact, the lambda enzyme integrase catalyzes the integration and excision of the lambda DNA into and out of the E. coli host chromosome at specific attachment sites. The enzyme integrase carries out the recombination reaction steps, including the short 7 BP branch migration. For future reference, excision also requires this Isis protein. Each of the three boats in front of the sunbot contains an elongated serpent standing on its tail. Transcription in the cell is the synthesis of RNA from a DNA template involving 3 steps: initiation, elongation, and termination. Elongated serpents represent the elongation stage of transcription, which the ideogram represents here. 4 armless forms of Osiris face the boats, possibly suggesting the 4 integrase molecules that bind to the 2 sets of inverted core type DNA sites that each flank the 7 BP overlap sequence. In hour 2, or the lower register gods 10 through 11 and 16 through 17, holding inverted life signs, represent the 2 sets of inverted repeats. Alright, and let's get a picture of hour 3, the upper register, and hour 3, lower register. And I should have been calling the numbers out when we were saying those names, but so you can go over it better, but get the book. The upper register is lined with deities, goddesses, dog-headed baboons, and jackal-headed gods. Note that a man called Anath bears 2 pupils of the Eye of Horus, which the woman Anet brings another 2. This may indicate the option of renewing both the whole sun and the moon eye of Horus, that is, the cosmic species of lytic pathways, or Anet, versus the sun and injured moon eye of the human species, or the lysogenic pathway, or Anath. In addition, a kneeling man at number 10 brings the Eye of Ra, or the integrating lambda DNA. The SI text related to the upper register reads, "Flesh of their bones and their shadows are united unto them." The deities weep when the sun god passes. Their work is to take vengeance upon the Seba fiend. If one knows this, he will not be driven off by their roarings and never fall down into their caverns. Roaring suggests a chemical reaction related to the SOS response of the cell, the excision of the prophage, and cell lysis. Caverns suggest the ultimate structure of DNA. In the lower register, full bearded mummified forms of Osiris between 3 and 6 are wearing a white crown, suggests the activation of the prophage and right lambda arm due to lysis. This is reinforced by the 4 names: Osiris, Lord of Amentet, Osiris at the head of Amentet, Osiris of the head of the 2 seats, and Osiris, conqueror of millions of years. The 2 seats suggest the left and right arms of lambda or RO and OL operator sequences. In addition, 4-seated bearded mummified forms of Osiris between 16 through 19 wearing the red crown indicate crow-protein control of the left lambda arm. The goddess Bakati holds in each hand the 2 eyes of Horus. The text once again reinforces the idea of sending forth words of DNA instructions so that they receive their heads, which we can literally take as phage has. Also, the text states that the work of these deities is to hoe and hack souls to pieces, set restraints on shadows, and destroy doomed beings that have their beings in their places of destruction, which blaze with fire. The enemies are now those with knives or overheads, suggesting the laws of electrostatic force. The hydrophobic interaction stabilizes the folded or native states of proteins, but hydrogen bonds van der Waals forces the electrostatic interaction also play a role, as the loss of electrostatic force means unstable protein structures. Text from Ramesses VI. In RVI, the solar bulk has a crew of 6 divinities, which is without the sun god in older versions, and is preceded by the 3 boats. The boat in front of the solar bulk with no name has a ram-headed prow with 6 occupants. Then the next boat has a headless man and woman and is called the boat of rest. The ends of the 3rd boat, which is called boat of equipment, terminates in lotus flowers, which the 3 hawk-headed divinities between 2 oarsmen, and the first hawk-headed figure holding a scepter and the sign of life as he stands on a snake. In the lower register, the 4-seated figures of Osiris had distinctive names: Osiris, Lord of the West, Osiris at the head of the western land, Osiris of the locality, and Osiris who seizes millions. The last name suggests the millions of phage progeny. Penikoff notes that the text at the end of the 3rd hour does not exist in RVI, so he includes the text from Tutmosis III. This 18th dynasty text shows that the 2 goddesses of truth led the sun god to the water of the unique land, where his rays will penetrate into the darkness of the region of form. The sun god states that the soul of Osiris is destined for the sky, while his body is destined for the earth, suggesting that the substrate remains in the host cell. When we pick up again, we'll be starting with hour 4, and we're going to take a quick look at the matrix for the amduat hour 3. And I like to say peace kings, peace queens. I'll holler at y'all later.